Sometimes it is okay to say F you. Guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity, up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah. And before we get into it, I wanted to shout out, first of all my new subscribers. I don't get to see the names on the other platforms where people are subscribed, but I do get to see the names of the Patreon subscribers. So I always want to make sure I'm showing you guys love. So Julia Tate, Sydney P, welcome to the squad. Thank you for being here. And I hope you find your stay comfortable. And shout out to all of my subscribers. Like I said, I don't have you guys' names on these other platforms, whether it's Apple you're subscribed through or even Spotify. It doesn't give me a list of the names, but I wanted to acknowledge and recognize you guys anyway. I realized I hadn't done that in a while. It's so funny. And I noticed this for myself. And it's just this very interesting thing, right? Where it's like when your head is in work mode, you forget all the little things. Or you're so focused and fixated on certain things that you forget other things, right? And, I never like to overlook the people who are making it a point to support me in one way or another, but genuinely invest. That's always important, right? So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. And it kind of ties into today. Sometimes it's okay to say F you. And F you is, feeling uncertain, or FU is, fighting uncertainty. It could be a lot of things, but FU just simply represents, saying the thing out loud. In many different ways, you kind of recognize, whether it be things, whether it be places, whether it be people, there could be a certain level of uncertainty, right? Where you feel uncertain about the dynamics, you feel uncertain about your success, you feel uncertain about the comfort of certain things, or the safety, or the security, or the sincerity, right? You feel uncertain. And when you feel that way, sometimes we try to deny it, or we don't even allow ourselves to fully admit that, for one reason or another. However, it is super necessary and super okay to just acknowledge where the uncertainty lies. Where is it coming from? Why is it there? Especially in interpersonal relationships. I am such a... it's funny. I see myself as pretty easygoing. And because I'm so easygoing, my tolerance for certain things is also not there. It's a very interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Dynamic, if you will. Because it's there is no reason in my head when people are good to you, when you are intentionally good to people, there is no reason you should be on a receptive end of someone's BS perpetually, right? And I think that gets so twisted in society. The only way you're kind is if you allow somebody to treat you unkindly and you continue to be there. That's the only way you're going to be defined as kind to other people who are not kind to you, funny enough. You know, the only way you're a true friend is if you kind of allow, accept, tolerate, enable, and bypass someone's inability to not be a friend to you, right? Oh, a true friend would understand me neglecting our relationship. Only a true friend would understand that. No, 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 no. That's not true friendship because you're not being a true friend, right? Um, Even in a partnership, it's like you don't have to function off of um, assumption and neglect. So for me in life, even from a professional stance, like they say, how one person does one thing is how they do everything. And it translates for me. It's like uncertainty is healthy in some ways. It really is healthy because if you step into a space where you're uncertain in some dynamics, you learn, right? And you grow, okay? You grow from uncertainty. And even in dynamics where, yeah, let's say there's a level of uncertainty that's not the most conducive to your growth. If you're willing to acknowledge that and do something about it and take action, well, you inevitably grow from that because you outgrow that situation, you outgrow that dynamic. You get what I'm saying? So, in the realm of uncertainty, I I definitely take intentional inventory of where I feel uncertain, who I feel uncertain about, what in my day to day do I feel uncertain about, right? Or insecure, right? That, because that creeps up too. And then I parse through it, right? I recognize at the end of the day, the beautiful thing about being quote unquote easygoing is you don't have to constantly put yourself in hard relationships. That is not your charge. Being an easygoing person and really figure out what easygoing means, okay? Because sometimes what we think is easygoing is us just avoiding the feeling uncertain, right? Or avoiding actually speaking to it. Okay. And that's not easygoing. That's you being passive, or that's us being passive. Right? That's not easygoing. Sometimes people think they're easygoing, and it's like, you're not easygoing. You're just kind of allowing you're allowing for you to be like easily overlooked, if you will. You're allowing there to be a certain regard or disregard for you and your needs, right? And you call it easygoing, and it's like, no, that's not it. And it doesn't have to be it. Okay? I realize a lot of times the only people who have a problem with you deciding you want better for yourself are the people who have no desire to be better to you. And that's fine, right? I always say it is fine to see what level of effort someone wants to make when it comes to you. It's fine for them to be exactly who they are. And it does not have to be fine in your life. You do not have to be fine with a certain level of uncertainty that keeps you unhealthy. So F you, right? You don't have to acclimate to that. And I say that with the reality of there being consequences to that. Yeah, absolutely. There are going to be consequences. There are going to be changes. Do you want those changes or not? Because on the other side of you deciding about that is you. On the other side of you deciding about that, people a lot of times look at the fear aspect of making an adjustment, and they don't consider themselves in the equation. Like, oh, if I do this, then I won't have this person or I won't have this thing. Yeah, but what do you get in return? I always say these days, the only things that are stressing me out is Isaiah. And Isaiah is only stressing me out because he is looking for ways to improve. He's looking for ways to improve. But to be stressed out by somebody who is not looking to improve themselves and or improve our relationship is a no-go. Absolutely not. For what? You are not being kind because you allow somebody to constantly be unkind to you and you stay. That's not kindness, because you're not being kind to yourself. That is not kindness at all. Truth be told. And, people like to argue that, whatever the case may be. Cool. But if you don't have the functionality to show up in your other relationships in a healthy way because you continue to exist in this relationship, there's nothing to show for. There's nothing to show for at all. And that's what I think about too in the long run. If I have this one relationship that is constantly draining me, or I have this one circumstance that is constantly draining me, I will not be able to show up elsewhere. It's like if I go home and I don't sleep, I cannot perform at my job the next day, right? Every space impacts us. Every space that does impact us in a certain way impacts us in other areas of our life, period. Okay? There's not this different person that shows up unless there is. There's not this different person or different ration or storage of energy that you leave by your door when you leave the house. No, the energy that you have is the energy that you are. And whatever that is doing in your body is going to show up and impact everywhere else you go. So if you have a toxic relationship that you exist in and that you are so hell-bent on taking care of and staying in, that is going to filter out into everything else you do in one way or another. And I think we don't think about that. I remember like years ago, the thought of going to work would affect me in such a way where it's like I didn't want to leave the house. And even when I was out, I was constantly thinking about work because I had to go the next day. Like I was impacted in such a way by that one thing that it impeded on everything else I was doing. Okay. If you have a certain relationship that's just kind of like, is not the healthiest, or there's some upheaval, to some degree, you're going to be occupied with that. Emotionally occupied, mentally occupied, energetically occupied. And we have to understand when we constantly take a beating in our relationships, an emotional beating or a psychological beating, sometimes physical, and that is not okay ever. That does not support our ability to be present in other relationships. It hinders it, right? Our learning is affected. We're lacking the skills. We don't have the ability, right? Because what we learn in this dynamic is something that does not help. Those are habits that we've learned, right? It's a fear that we have now. Okay, it's a trauma that may be attached now. So now when we show up in other places, we carry that information. People do not realize that. So when you're feeling uncertain in certain dynamics, or you feel like there's an unhealthy balance of some degree, do something about it. Brainstorm, get serious about what you want to feel. Get serious about what you want to experience and plan. And it's going to be hard. So accept that. It's going to be challenging, right? Some people may have it a little bit easier, but if that's not your case, then accept that. That is not my case. But it does not mean that I don't deserve better. Doesn't mean that I can't try. If I had a nickel for every time someone's like, oh yeah, but it's not that easy. There hasn't been any aspect of my life that's been easy, so I don't know what that looks like. So yeah, water is wet. I'm aware. But I don't necessarily let that be my impediment. I love a challenge. But I don't love challenging relationships that I do not have to exist in. Challenge me anywhere else that's going to improve me. But to be challenged in certain dynamics where I'm giving my all and there's nothing to show for, I'm good. I'm all the way good. Sometimes you got to say F you when you're feeling uncertain. And F you could simply mean I'm not going to continue to put myself through this. No, this is not okay. F that. Okay. Fail upwards. Right? If you're trying, you are not failing. Trust me. If you are giving your honest, you are not failing. You're figuring some things out, that's for sure, but you're not failing. And if you have the expectation that things are just supposed to happen right away, that's your failure. That's your setback. That's your hindrance. Okay, so think about the things that you feel uncertain about. Does a conversation need to be had? Right? Are you seeking clarity in a situation that is very clear? Right? But you call it seeking clarity. In reality, what you're seeking is a different outcome, or what you're seeking is control. Okay? You could be honest about that to yourself. Because the more honest you are, the clearer your path will get. What do I want to do? Where do I want to be? What do I want to have? What am I willing to work towards? Okay? Say F you a little bit more. Okay? I'm feeling uncertain about what and why. And what am I going to do about it? This quote that says, I am, oh man, I don't want to butcher it, but she says, I loved it. She goes, I'm staying close to people who are certain about me. I'm staying close to people who are certain about me. I'm staying close to things that I'm certain about. Anything else? No, I'm good. F that. Okay. And you go from there. Okay. So with that being said, take care of yourselves. Yes. Take care of each other. I have slots available for coaching. They're filling up fast. And again, certainty goes a long way. So if you're certain about what you want to do, or you're certain about that you are looking for help, and you are certain about your willingness to be disciplined to show up yourself and be committed to the growth, hit me up. Okay. The link is going to be in the description of this episode. And again, shout out to all of my subscribers. You guys are the sweetest, the sweetest. And I'm glad you find a space here to just chill, kick it, and learn some more. And yeah, if you are a subscriber, you know that I've started a March Mindfulness Challenge. And each week I'll be releasing an episode with some things to just kind of make this month such a pivotal and transformative experience. And yeah, make sure you see results, but you got to be committed. So with that being said, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take flight.